Welcome back, everyone, to episode 17 of Let's Play Aurora 4X in our, Star Trek role-playing original framework. But as I've mentioned, and I continue to mention off and on, that we've kind of broken away from that. I just want to keep mentioning that because I feel a little weird that I've left that as the series title. But we have the USS Phoenix out there, and we will have the USS Enterprise exploring very soon. So I'm going to activate my music once again, because I don't think it's that... I think it's a nice addition in the background. Just put it up to around there. And let's go into the roleplay from last episode on the comment section of the YouTube page. First, I guess I want to jump into another excerpt from One Giant Leap, the early years of the Federation. This one is, I would say, partly canon, but it works well enough. The launch of the Phoenix was greeted with general rejoicing, although the initial discovery that Tau Ceti was a metaphorical dead end and did take the edge off the celebrations. Indeed, there was a serious suggestion that any colony set up in the system be named Dead End. Sigma Draconis, on the other hand, proved that the warp point phenomenon was not just a local space anomaly, and pressure began to rise for a serious colonization effort to commence as soon as possible. At the same time, the plans for a major expansion of the Federation armed forces began to come into fruition. This move, triggered by a healthy dose of paranoia among the ruling elite, had a knock-on effect of keeping most of the working population of Sol in employment. The most surprising part of the initial exploration effort was how quickly the regular reports became just another minor news item. Apparently, the populace was more concerned with their day-to-day lives than with another inconclusive system survey report. This last one kind of strikes me, and I mentioned this in the comments, as the way people feel about the exploration that was done on Mars. The people who were really following it, I feel like they had a real scientific leaning, or, that's the way they were, is they were curious about what was going on with the rovers and all that. But most people are just concerned with how am I going to make money to support my family tomorrow, kind of things. So it's not it's not everyone's cup of tea to follow that. So I like that comment because it kind of gives us a good idea of how such a futuristic, future might actually appear. The other thing I want to mention is that the Federation R&D department sent a memo asking for deep space listening posts. Basically, just the survey. What is that? Their official name? Excuse me. The Deep Space Tracking Stations. That's more or less what it was said. That we should put these around. It'll detect things. It's good for us. We can also kind of roleplay it as there'll be universe observation points, so we can get. We already can probably triangulate things from just having various detectors around in the Sol system, but how much better will it be if we have listening posts that we can compare data with from, light years apart? So, very interesting point. Or that's my own point about the sensor part, but the gameplay function, the R&D memo was about, military defense having these listening posts. Okay, what I want to cover today when we get it back in. Why am I here? Okay, that's always what I want to talk about. May 20th, 2065, we left off at... Okay, I have the time written down. Yeah, we left off at May 23rd... Oh, no, sorry. 23rd of October, 2064, and it is now May 20th. It's really not that far, 6 months in the future or so. But the main thing is I had to come back because this is huge. Addition of safe greenhouse gas to the atmosphere of Luna has been halted as specified conditions have been met. And truly, it is a time to rejoice because Luna has become less than 30% oxygen, meaning that she now has a planet colony cost of 0. So we no longer need any of the infrastructure, and per my agreement following the Terra Nova disaster, where we had a lot of loss of life because of not enough infrastructure, this is now the Federation government's property, even though most of it, 99% of it or so, was made by the private corporations, because we're trying to somewhat regulate the overpopulation situation so that the loss of life we saw in that initial colonization phase is not repeated. So that was a nice role-playing way of just something that everyone always does, which is take the current infrastructure that the private economy puts down for you and use it for yourself. From a money perspective, we're doing good. We're still gaining about 100 per cycle, and we're over 100,000, so we have a nice cushion if things start to go south. Let me just make sure. Good, we're still recording. If things go south, we'll have actually a little bit of time to recover. Let's see. From an industry standpoint, is there anything I want to talk about? We're getting close to completing the additional 200 construction factories that I had planned. We actually have several fuel refineries, so just to give you an idea of our fuel refinery state, we have almost 40 million liters in reserve, which is not a lot, don't get me wrong, but it is a lot for the demand that we might have in the foreseeable future. You can see our production is about 4 million a year, and that's about to increase because we have it at least in the pipeline to eventually build some more fuel refineries, but more importantly, we're also going to get, pretty sure that, it's the next one up. Brandon Allen, the next one up for him is fuel production, 100,000 liters. I don't know what our current fuel production is. 80,000. Okay, so we'll have a nice 25% boost to this number as soon as we get that next tech. But you can see already it's not a huge deal. And even if we only make, let's say I make 10 destroyers for our defense, I don't think that, most of the time they won't actually be actively patrolling. They'll just be, kind of like a QRF, quick response force. So, okay, let's just get into the research side of things because that's another interesting thing I wanted to talk about. Jumping through, it looks like we have one lab left. In the meantime, in the off 6 months or so, I did rearrange a few things. I mean, we're building labs like crazy right now. These are finishing, well, I don't know. They're finishing quickly. It seems like one a month or so, maybe even less time between finishing the lab. So I've actually been able to get Dr. Mahmood up to his, he increased his administrative rate at some point, and then I've increased his number of labs to 20 with these extra labs slowly. So this is giving us an end time of 2066. The fuel consumption rate is going to finish April 26, 2066. This will finish June 2066. And there's another tech I planned it out already. I think it is whatever happens after this, which is, the missile maneuverability rate will also be, I think, in the middle of 2066. So this is where I'm going to establish I'm going to put my line in the sand that once it's the middle of 2066, we will begin designing our missile destroyers. And I've decided to go with a missile destroyer and point defense frigate complement. So we'll probably have groups of 5, where it's 3 missile destroyers and then 2 point defense frigates. So that's the idea for our initial navy. And then I'll move, I'll move away from that. Probably move away from that more towards Star Trek oriented things. I'm kind of stealing this. I haven't seen the Enterprise series, but in the Enterprise series they did use very missile-like torpedoes, whereas I would argue in the Next Generation, which is my main exposure to torpedoes, that those operate much more in the energy spectrum than they would in the missile spectrum. For the Enterprise, I've been corrected that it's definitely just an advanced missile. So we'll be using missiles through up until the Enterprise, but then later we really should make sure our focus is on energy weapons to a good degree. We can have point defense, that's fine, but anyway, don't want to bog down too much in the details. So we'll be designing our destroyers in the middle of 2066, and our research looks good. We'll be getting missile launcher reload rate. I don't really need it, but basically this is just to offset the fact that we'll be also getting reduced size launchers, which greatly, as you can see, 0.5 size is 5 times the reload rate. Reload rate isn't as important as just overwhelming the point defense stuff, and I know there's a trick you can do where if you launch if you don't have your entire fleet launch a volley together, if you have individual ships launch huge volleys, but very closely spaced, like it's 5-second tick apart, the point defense way it works in this game is it only tracks the nearest batch of missiles or volley that had to be fired together as a volley. So if you launch them in 5-second, with 5-second spacing between volleys, it's almost surely going to be only the last minute defense will do anything against it unless they completely eliminate all the missiles from the previous volley. which is unlikely. Now, final defense will still have a chance to hit those, but usually any other point defense that the AI would have, if that's rendered ineffective, then you usually get a lot more hits than you should. So I'm not going to cheese the system, but I'm just making a mention that that is possible. So I would say don't do it because your ships are going to be overpowered, unbalanced. Okay, let's see. We have to no, everything's good. So all we need to do is give this lab to, I think I'm going to give it to the energy person because we need to keep him senior to the 55%ers, even if it's just by one lab. Although the energy weapons after this, we have the next range adjustment for lasers, and it's really not necessary. Basically, I don't know if I even should do this. The energy weapons has almost gotten as far as I really need it to go. Well, I guess if we want to fight other energy weapons, we should have the better lasers, so I'll keep that after all. But, okay, and then everything's looking good. Dr. Allen is once again slated to do after his fuel production thing, which is only 40,000, and for him that's pretty quick. We'll be moving into the ultimate, well, I would say ultimate, but there's another research rate beyond this, but it's very hard to get, very, very, very expensive. But I'm actually going to try to put time into getting this one after these two are done for Dr. Allen, because just the whole gain quick, like it's the same way you get compound interest, you want to invest as early as possible. That's the same thing with this research rate. Okay, so I've talked about research rate, I've talked about the reason we were brought back was because of the moon is now perfectly breathable. And this is actually, I don't think I have it, I did not, I closed it. But I actually brought up my role-playing rich text format document with all the different highlights, and I added a note about this. So to the 20th May 2065 is the first time that a different planet has been terraformed to be let's say the same as Earth, in air quotes of course, but it's more or less the same. And I don't understand, obviously there's technology going on here which is beyond possibility. Maybe it has something to do with the trans-Newtonian stuff, because I don't think Moon could actually support an atmosphere, but let's pretend somehow it's been done, because it has been done in our game, and now colony cost is down to 0, so all that infrastructure is ours. Now, some other things that are going on. We have the Sonia, who is just spending her time ferrying mining stations back from Earth to the Moon, and then going and get some more. Why is this? It's because Earth, very recently, ran out of duranium, and that happens to be the very last mineral that the Earth had. So Earth is now completely depleted of any minerals, so there's no point in having all the mines that we still have left. You can see our Sonia has already moved 16 mines, but she's just almost stuck in an infinite loop, moving those mines back and forth, and we'll get her to do that until all the mines are moved to the Moon. We also do eventually want to put some mines on Mars, but just because the population rate, growth rate here is not as high, it says it's high, but it's constantly restricted by the infrastructure. So the moon is no longer restricted by infrastructure at all. It can grow, ad infinitum. So we don't have to worry about it. It already has 30 million workers available. We can throw all the mine workers we want at this place, and the population growth rate should always exceed the workers we need. Eventually, once the miners are done, the terraformers are now done, so we can move those out as well. What we want to do is put all of our science here. I already mentioned that, but it still is something so that we can increase our industrial capacity on Earth, and also any other, let's see, what other stuff? Shipyard workers, maintenance workers, construction workers, ordnance factories. We need fighters as well. So all these and then fighters and fuel refineries. All these things except for financial, mine workers, and scientists need to stay here and need to increase. So in order to do that, we need to make room, and to make room, we just ship all our science off to the Moon. Okay, so I wanted to keep this first part pretty short, but the last thing I wanted to do, actually there was one other thing I wanted to say, which is the fact that somewhere, Hera, there she is. Let's go to Titan. The Hera is still waiting at Titan, and this is because our Admiral Wright's geology team has been stuck there for a long time. I think that one of the original 5 members died or retired or something, and I don't know if with only 4 people, if the team was even doing work, because they've been on Titan for a very long time, which you can still see that the geological team survey has not been completed. So I don't know if it's bugged out or what, but I disbanded that original team and I put the new team back on it. It has 3 of the original members, but 2 are new, I think these are, this might actually not be true. It might be only 2 of these are the original one. I don't know, who knows? But one of the original 5 from Wright's team did quit. So when I clicked on the team just to see why they were taking so long, I only saw 4 names. So I was like, okay, well, let's just disband and make a new one. And this one has a much higher rating anyways, because we're with the military academy that we have right now. Basically, what's the... Starfleet Academy is amazing. It is everything you can dream it to be and more, because it is producing some really fine, high quantity, but even more importantly, a really high quality. We're at the maximum training level, so that's really helping us a lot. Going back to this, so that's done. The Hera is just waiting to pick up this team and move, but what I want the Hera to do now is move our terraforming. So let's just go ahead and do this, and we can go back to Titan afterwards. Let's go to Hera. Quickly have her move from Earth, from the moon, load terraforming, drop it off on Mars, somewhere, unload, and just keep doing this. I'm going to have it cycle moves because she's not going to run out of fuel. She has really good fuel efficiency, so she'll complete moving. It's only like 10 platforms anyway. She'll finish moving those before she runs out of fuel or even needs to refuel or probably anything. So we'll get her to do that. The Sonya, as I mentioned, just to show you, is just moving mines back and forth from Earth to the moon. And okay, let's go back to the Phoenix, center of the map. She's just about to finish her survey of Shaka, and then we can get whatever new system is discovered after that. So let's go ahead and auto-turn this just a little bit. Make sure that we did use that. Good, did use that. So let's go. Because it's really close. We're very close to getting the rest of these points. I assume there'll only be 2 jump points. We'll just go through the unexplored one. And then I'll cut away and we'll do the exploration off camera. And I'll also continue to push forward with my research and get those things done. Move the team around if it... okay. So it's done here. And energy weapon 20%. Lots of new scientists, even though the quality is set to level 5. Still getting a good number of them. So it's time for us to move through this. Okay, remove all and then move through this. We'll just move 2 first and give me the notification, and then we'll send her through. Or yeah, the Phoenix. Okay, so I don't see anything else to address here. So we'll keep going. Okay, inactive research lab, we'll give this to who? I think one of these higher ones, the more important ones. Obviously still construction and production in a lot of ways is still the most important, because your whole civilization, even your ability to get better, more labs and all that, is based on this. And for the ability for those labs to do better research is based on this. So we'll probably give it that. And keep going. Okay, it looks like we've finished some research. Good, okay, so missile agility has been started. David Collins finished reload rate. Let's just check reload rate. 7 is 60, yeah, that's too much, so we'll leave it there. Your next one will be... So the next one, I think this is perfect. Do ordnance production. Because the next one will not make it onto the destroyers, the missile destroyers, but it's actually going to be important for us to improve our ability to make missiles once we actually have the design ready to go. So this seems like perfect. We get the missiles. This is April 2066. I knew, I already tested it, that this would be about the timeline. So everything's coming together for the middle of 2066, and we should have the design done by then, and probably the ships at least starting to be built by the later half of 2066, and maybe even completed by the end of 2066 or early 2067. And that's great. It's really good that we'll have those out. Okay, and we'll in the off the camera, I'll probably also try to look at the different possibilities for further colonization. Okay, the next one is Raynor James, Defense Systems. Okay, so we have another system decision to make here. Sorry. Let's cancel that one because I think we might want to get the next thing of 300,000. That's actually probably too much. That's going to be like 7 years. I think I checked. 72. Yeah, that's going to be 6.5 years. That might be too long to wait. I mean, it's obviously too long. It might even not be worth it. Maybe we actually should do beta shields next. What's the moon doing? Moon is doing cloaking theory into Sinclair. Shield regeneration. Okay, well let's just get the beta shields. We don't need beta shields. Let's do the... yeah, let's do it this way. Super dense armor. And then after that we'll drive very hard into the shield technology. So that, again, by the time the Enterprise needs to be built, which is still decades off, we'll have better shield technology. So, cue that up. And we're good there. I don't think there's anything else we need to address. So, moving forward. Okay, we obviously don't need to go another 5-day increment. By the way, I didn't really check that. Let's see if there's anything I missed. Nope. One more day. And there it is. Okay, good. So Phoenix, go ahead, make your transition through the jump point. Okay, so here we have Hector, Hector A, and it's a good system. Looks like it has some stuff. Let's figure out what kind of stuff. Wow. Now our colony cost has decreased these. Our research into colonization efforts has decreased the colony cost. This would probably be a 2. Or maybe slightly less than that. But that is good. So Hector A looks like a great candidate for... yeah, this almost looks like a home system. This one, okay. People are wondering if maybe this is one that could have supported some kind of alien life similar to our own at some point. Let us go and investigate. Specifically, which one do we want to investigate? Hector 5. So let's just do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We might just want to do all of them. They're all kind of interesting. Just to make sure we're not picking up anything, but 5 is the main one we don't want to miss. Okay, that's actually a pretty small range. I think that, let's see, if we go Hector 1, 3, 4, 5, and then probably just one by one from there. 4, 5, 7, 8, 6. Okay, let's just do this real fast. This is interesting. What if this could be the, every time I kind of like hold my breath. Is this it? Is this the one? So let's remove those orders. Move to 1. Okay, let's zoom in. Okay, we want 1, 3, 4, 5. 1, 3, 4, 5. Then we want what? Probably just stay 7, 8, and then 6. 7, 8, and then 6. And then there's one more. Okay, and 9 after that. And you know what, we'll just go in order from there. 10, 11, 12. And we will follow the Phoenix in her exploration. So 10, 11, 12 is way out there. How far? Is that like unreasonably far? That is 10 billion. We are not going to go to 12. We'll leave 12 alone. At least not until we get to the outside, exploring the outside stuff. Alright, so let's just do this on camera as well, because why not? And then we'll jump away, we'll cut away, and... okay. Nothing interesting here. More scientists, constantly getting scientists. Hey, no, I want you to follow. Let's follow Phoenix. This could be interesting. I'm being bad and eating food on camera. I'm trying to get A little substance. Sustenance. Alright, so we have 93% injection done on Luna. This is Elizabeth's French. Okay, we need another missile thing for you. What's a good thing to do after this? Well, this is only 3,000, and heck yeah, we want it. I mean, this one's 8,000. I think that we might even get some use out of that. So we definitely could get some use out of this though, and that's 2070. Let's do this the other way around. She is still the best. She can only have one, so one administrative rating 1, but if you're on the moon, you're only getting 1 or 2, so that's actually going to be fine for us. So let's do this reduce size first, and then next grab what you were already starting to work on. And if we can ship another, I probably will ship one more lab over to the moon, because that would be nice to get French another one. We're actually doing important enough stuff over here with missiles and kinetic weapons that I think it warrants a second one. Okay, so we'll continue then. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Sony's completed her orders. I'll get to that off camera. We just need to have her keep moving mines. Well, darn. She's already gone. Phoenix has already gone by and did not find any people anywhere. So I'm gonna put a cut in here then, and I'll come back when we've explored some more systems. I've probably gotten this all done, or if there's another research, or if we finish our research and it's 2066, and I will need to start designing the missile destroyers. Anyways, some interesting point. If there's something more interesting that has happened, I'll come back then. So I'll put a cut in here, and I'll see you back in a second. Okay, so we are back, and it is the middle of 2066, which means yes, it is time. We will be designing our first destroyer now, and I went through a lot of effort trying to figure out what the names should be for these classes. I've actually organized the default United States names in the Aurora list by their designation, or what their designation was historically. And I'm not... Okay, so I added Ticonderoga. Sorry, that should be a separate one. I really like that name. I really like that the ship class. So anyway, we have the Pegasus, which we've used, the Oliver Hazard Perry, or Oliver H. Perry. I added the Aegis. That's my own thing. I think that our point defense frigate that's coming up to support the missile destroyer will be an Aegis class frigate. It doesn't make sense because the Aegis, historically, the Aegis class cruisers were really powerful ships, but the defense protection idea, I think it's reasonable enough that the Aegis class, it's going to suit its namesake very well. These are all the destroyers that the game has. It actually has quite a few, and I think I added the Zumwalt. I don't know if they have that one or not. I also added in here I'm leaving them in this order because this is historically their order of appearance, their timeline, I guess. So it's the Caldwell, then Wicks, then Clemson, Fletcher, blah blah blah. Anyway, then we have the cruisers, which I'm not even including the full name cruisers. I don't know if Belknap is a place. It probably is, but I apologize. I haven't heard of it, so I left this one in here, and I added the Ticonderoga. So there's a lot of ship names here I'm neglecting. Like, this actually took me. This whole episode has been massively delayed. First of all, I did look into. Actually, I don't know why I didn't mention this earlier. I did look into the whole issue with my civilians not taking things from Kamasola and bringing them over to Cromlin. I actually saved the game, made a copy, ran the game for years, and nothing happened. I deleted colonies, I tried different things, and eventually it showed that these guys, it's not completely bugged, they just have other tasks they'd rather be doing, which mainly is moving stuff to Terra Nova. So once I deleted the colony on Terra Nova, I got some small trickle of this, and once I deleted Mars and Luna, they had nothing else to do but to go here. So anyway, I'm not going to delete those things. I'm just going to let the private economy do its thing. But that explains, well, two things. One, why this stuff wasn't being moved. It's a lower priority, it turns out. And also, hopefully it can explain the huge delay between the last video and this one, which I apologize for. I'm also, like I said, going to put a channel update about that, because it's also not just that. But I probably have played up from the time I left the last episode until this point, June 2066. I probably played 4 or 5 hours of Aurora in this time frame, so there's a lot of time which goes into recording this one more than any other series, just because a lot of cuts, and in this case I was doing a little bit of practice stuff off camera to try to figure out what the reason for that was. Anyway, did I mention the ship classes? Oh yeah, I was just going to show you the different names available. Basically, I really don't like any of the United States names in here. I did eventually sort this down to... There we go. I actually did add the carriers in here. Obviously, I'm not going to add the... Whoops. I'm not going to add the Enterprise there because the Enterprise is going to serve her own role, of course. So we have plenty of carriers, and I'll probably use these names. I really do like the carrier names. Out of all the ship classes that we have, the ones that... I like Fletcher and Gearing and stuff like this, and Spruance. I mean, and Nimitz, but he's down here. I love Spruance. He's probably my favorite admiral of the recent American, at least of the recent American admirals. Maybe. I haven't really done a whole lot of research deep into admirals, but Spruance is my favorite. I just love, identify with his way of thinking and his conservative, but really intelligent decision making. So anyway, we'll definitely have a Spruance class, guaranteed, because, but maybe not a Zumwalt. Like, okay, the ones that I probably won't have are like the Kuntz Farragut. This is not a significant destroyer. Just didn't really even see action, maybe in the Vietnam War, but Forrest Sherman, same way. Not that these are great names anyway, so I'll probably just delete them from the list, but Spruance I like Gearing and Fletcher. Nice, easy names to say. If we have any submarines, there is a ship we can make a submarine, which just means a really stealth ship, super stealth ship. We will use Gato and Nautilus. I love those names. Very good. Gato, not a great name. It's just cat in Spanish, right? But Nautilus, fantastic. Let's see. We had... This is based on the cat shark. That's if you've ever wondered why they named it the Gato. The Gato is a type of cat shark, I think. Carrier names are fantastic. Essex, Hornet. It's hard to name anything that isn't a carrier, one of these names, just because they're so identified with carriers. So, anyways, long story short, I'm preferring this list, actually. The Terran Federation list is just, in my opinion, far superior for our initial class, and I think that it fits very well in with the Star Trek role-playing theme. So I really do imagine that we'd have ships named like this. So if we want to name our first ship, it should be the first destroyer which appears on this list, and that's probably going to be the Fletcher. There it is. So our very first, I think it's actually pretty fitting that our first missile destroyer will be named the Fletcher, since Fletcher, arrows, I don't know, it kind of makes sense. Whereas you have no such connection with the word Gearing. So that's it. It will be named the the Fletcher class destroyer will be our first missile destroyer. And we can actually start, I just double check the research, making sure we're not making any mistakes or jumping the gun. I even waited, there was one that finished in June 1st. This was ordnance production. Actually, that's not even important either. Let's see, we'll jump to event, I don't want that. Let's just do research only and see what happened. Doesn't show the date now because the time tick happens above it, but... Oh, that's right, I was waiting for beam fire control. That's true. Never mind. So I was doing the right thing. We did one away for beam fire control. Now we could have gotten our missile ships out. Gosh, it looks like a long time ago. We don't need this to build the missile ships. That's just, this is going to be what kind of missile we put into the tubes. But that only needs to happen when we start constructing the ship, when we finish our design. So you can start designing like the missile launchers and all that well before you have the missiles. Especially because it's pretty simple. We're going to be using very standard fare size 6 anti-ship missiles. Okay, so let's actually get to it. And the list for designing a missile destroyer, sometimes I get bogged down, lost in it. We might make some mistakes and have to come back and correct some things. But first things first, let's try to figure out what kind of missile we're going to be dealing with, actually. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go to missiles. So in order to do the missile engine, actually, I need to bring up a window which I don't have up yet, so I'll probably have to put a cut in here, in fact. But there's other stuff. Do I need... I think that we should put a cut in here first because I want to get the missile engine stuff. I want to bring up the window and I have to close the recording to do that, not to reveal personal information. So let me think. Oh, we can get the missile launcher. This is easy enough. We're going to do a size 6, reload rate max, and we will do 5 times reload at half size, which essentially means we can launch twice as many missiles, but they reload 5 times slower. And again, this is just fine with us because we're quite content to have larger volley size, even if there's larger spacing between the volleys. So unless you can get 2 volleys out in like 5 seconds apart, which is not possible unless you're cheesing the game basically, there's no way to actually get 2 volleys that close enough apart to matter that the point defense systems of the AI or whatever enemy you're dealing with wouldn't have time to readjust to the new incoming volley. So that's why we just make the individual volleys as big as possible to make them individually hard to deal with. So June, we will do, this is our missile launcher. Okay, very simple. Now we want engines as well. We can do engines, which is always like my favorite thing to do. Although there's a lot of variables going on here. Maybe I should do a little bit, I might have to do some cold designing off camera and come back on totally. But anyways, let's start off with this one. This is not going to be the Oliver H. Perry, Hazard Perry or something. This is going to be we will specifically call it a missile destroyer. I think it's an actual designation. You know what? No, I think I'm just going to leave it as destroyer. We could put it is going to be a missile destroyer, but I'll just have to remember that. I'd rather keep the designations not too wide-ranging. It's nice that the game offers that, but to stick with the American style of naming ships, or really the world's style of naming ships right now, we won't do all those special naming classes. Alright, now this is not going to be the Oliver Perry, but actually it does appear here, the Fletcher. So this will be our missile destroyer. We already have the good armor on, and probably want some advanced damage control. I'll just throw on random things as I see them. What size fuel storage? Probably 1 large might actually be what we want. Let's kind of think about what's the last non-commercial engine I had. This one, which is size 45. Let's pretend that that's going to be our engine. It won't, but let's just pretend for now. And we need missile launchers to get research before we can really do anything else. So, don't think we'll put passive sensors on these guys. Yeah, so all we want is active sensors and stuff like that. But I want my active sensors and my fire missile control to be all linked to the missiles we're firing, right? Because missile fire control should be linked to the missile, and active sensors should be linked to your missile fire control. Like, this is the cascade. You build the missile, then you build the fire control, then you build the active sensors that will need to be slightly larger than your missile fire control. Let's just see what kind of range we're dealing with anyway. For these, I think we'll use a minimum resolution of maybe 4,000 tons or 80 hull size. Slightly bigger, because these are bigger ships. They don't need to detect as well the smaller ships, which is what our laser frigates are for, right? Those are our patrol ships. So these are more, let's get involved with the big ships. And I think that for us, we'll just judge this based on the size of our own ships, which will probably be around, I would say, definitely upwards of 5,000. So we'll do it. I think that this is going to be fine. This is going to be a search sensor. And typical size for these is maybe like 10. Let's see how big of a range are we getting with this. Yeah, well, this is insane. We're actually getting 1 billion kilometers with this already. So this is insane. We have fantastic technology. We obviously don't need something to be detected at 1 billion. We'll probably only need to detect them at, let's just make this size 5. 500 million is already pretty extensive for our very first ship class. I don't think that I'm expecting our missiles range to be, well, seeing this range, I might actually make it as large as 300,000, which is still pretty darn big. So they're going to have massive range. But that gives us a good idea of what to do. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'll just cut away real fast. I'll do a little bit of the planning off camera. I don't know if you'd want to see the planning on camera, but it does take me a while because I min-max everything. So let me at least get an idea of what I want to do, and then I'll just walk you through the thought process that led me to such a decision when I get back. But I know I talked about doing this, and we will delay things by a couple days by not like actually starting the research on these projects. However, I also forgot that the Phoenix is actually ready to go. She's ready to jump through jump point 2 into a new system. So, well, I guess I can do that on the next turn because, no, it won't. Actually, I don't think it'll affect anything. Let's just do it. I don't know. Actually, I'm going to do that on the next one because I want to get my research stuff squared away first, and in order to do that, I need to get this all done. So I will cut back just to avoid delaying our ship research, getting the ship produced, even by another 5-day cycle. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'll start the music back up in a moment, but it's not just been a few hours, it's been a few days since I got this underway. So the one thing I remember that we definitely have to do besides design the Fletcher is do this transit. Good. So it looks like we have a nice, could be a habitable system here. Let's take a look. Ooh, yes. Okay, good. So couple colonizable places. At least one. This has no water, no breathable atmosphere. I think that, I don't know exactly how the NPR creation thing works, but it's been advised to me that I actually increase my my NPR generation ability for colonizable systems. It's not that 20% is 1/5 of a chance every time you jump into a system. It's 1/5 of a chance only if you find a system which is deemed as a habitable one. And I'm not even sure if this one qualifies. So, to me it does, because it has anything less than a colony cost of 2 is just what I think of. But there's probably, I think, I've never looked into this, but I think it might have to have water and have breathable atmosphere. Although breathable atmosphere just means colony cost of 0 for me. So I'm not exactly sure. I will get the Hector, the Phoenix. She's going to have to go 11 to 18. 11, 18, 7, 10. Just get her started like this. Okay, 11. $18, 7, oops, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then she can go wherever she wants. Oh, I got, damn it. Well, hopefully it knows to skip it if it's already done it. I'm not going to delete this and do it all again. Okay, good. So then from there, she'll pick either the inner or the outer, and obviously the nearest neighbor will be the closest one. You just want to make sure that they go around in a circle for the first one because, well, I guess it's just, I think the closest ones are always the inner ones first. And even on the outer, if they're on the outer one here, they'll actually go to the inner one if you don't tell them specifically to stay on the circle. But if you start in the middle, it's not a problem. They'll just do it by themselves correctly. But of course, it's better to have them all queued up because then they don't waste time in between cycles. Anyway, who cares? Let's go on to the task at hand, designing the Fletcher. Now, I said I was going to pull up calculators and all that kind of stuff, and I forgot. But the good news is I did pull up my Aurora missile designer. Not but whoever made this is... Thank you to them, by the way. They've done an excellent job. And I've actually already kind of computed what I feel like would be a good missile. This is a damage 25 missile, so it's pretty great. That's a fantastic penetration profile. So they want this engine to be the 2 MSP, and they want it to be max. Fuel efficiency is not a big concern for us. And even though my design range is 200 million, I should say that I went into a lot of thought about this, and I started to record actually my thought process behind this, but I ended up spending about 20 minutes designing just the missiles on camera, and I decided that that's kind of interesting to me. The actual design of the Fletcher is interesting enough that I think it warrants, you know, at least a fair amount of time, but probably not 25 minutes. And the bigger thing was when I did that, I looked down at my total recording time for the video. It was like an hour and 10 minutes, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to redo that recording then. The good news is I can just delete the designs, which I've done, and I can do it from scratch again. And it's not a big deal to do that. So I haven't done anything, but this is what I've already mocked up in my head. So I just kind of started. I didn't actually instant any design, so I don't know how the final ship is going to look. But just, I kind of have some ballpark idea of what I want in my head, and we're going to see how it goes. Okay, now, this is what I'm going to be using. 2SP, 400 mod. And then when I actually get in, by the way, if you're curious about where to find all these things, I mean, this is on my Discord link. I think it's also might be in one of the Reddit links, which is in the video description below. Either way, you can get it. I'm sure you could just type this in or Google search it. But what did I want to say? Oh, yeah, if you're interested in knowing where you can find all the values that you need to put in very easily, I'm sure that anybody who's played the game knows where I'm going. It's right here, just in the missile design screen. You can get all the figures here. So that's our 200. So again, 200 million kilometers is our first missile goal. Now, I was really putting a lot of thought into what to do with our missile fire control and active sensors, because our technology is phenomenal. Just to give you an idea, I haven't touched anything here. Let's just go to missile control, because I like to design things again. Missile first, then missile fire control, then active. I'm at a hull size of 1, and I'm already getting 350 million kilometers. So this is already kind of insane. Now, it's a little min-max for me to even drop it below 1, but I will, because we only need 200 million. Sometimes you don't even need 200 million, because, okay, there's times where you could use over 200 million. If the enemy is closing upon you, it's nice to fire your missiles a little bit beyond their max range, because by the time the enemy gets to where you can do the math for it. Now, 275 is, I mean, the difference, the time that these missiles are going to travel, they're going to be moving at, I don't know if you saw, their speed is 42,700, so 42,000, so probably about 4 times my ship speed. So 200 divided by 4 is 50, if we assume the enemy is moving as fast as I am. And that's saying that our ships will be, if their ships are at 10,000 kilometers per second, then they will be able to close 50 million in the time that my missiles go 200 million, right? We're just doing simple math here. If I'm 4 times faster, I can go 4 times the distance, so they go 50 where I go 200. That means that I could possibly fire these at a max range of 250, and still, if they are headed right at me, hit them if they are going 10,000. Now, it's unlikely they're going to be going that fast, but that's the idea behind this. And again, I can see I'm going to get bogged down. I'll probably just have to put a cut in here, and then at least I can push this video, which has been way too long waiting. I can get it out, which I think would be good. So let's just do that. But there's another thing we can do here is cut this down to 4,000 tons. And now we're looking really good. We have 250 million. That was kind of like my idea at only a 0.8 sensor size. These things are going to be fixed, by the way, in Aurora C# to be a little bit more difficult. But we're doing great. So our missile fire control is done. 2066 June. We're ready. We're set. And 247 is our range. Resolution is 80. It's a little confusing, but there it is. Missile fire control. I don't actually know why it's missile fire control FC. It's really, I'm just going to leave the name as the default, how they do it, but it just doesn't make sense to me that they would put the same name twice. Like, it should just be, well, anyway, we'll just leave it. So we'll create this. And then that leaves us to, what do we do for our search sensors? Well, we want to be larger than our missile. We want to detect things larger away than farther away than our missiles can fire. So it'll probably be available at 2. So maybe we'll go to 3. But you know what? It might be interesting to detect things from significantly further away than we're expecting. I think we'll do this. So even if it's a 1,000-ton object, we should detect this at 25 million kilometers away still. So even, I think I'm pretty sure that's the same range, or actually greater range than even our laser frigates detect those such small ships. And these ships aren't really worried about small fries. I mean, these are going to be probably around 10,000 tons. So they're not too worried about a 1,000-ton ship. It's just, I mean, the 10-to-1 ratio of weight is going to be probably spoken for in the combat. So, I mean, I could go lower. 3,500? I think I'd rather the range. I'm pretty sure that we're not going to encounter anything below 4,000. And even like, let's say 2,000, if it was just double this, I think it's much more than double. We'll still be able to detect a 2,000-ton ship at more than 50 million kilometers. So this is fantastic. Let's just go ahead and create this. I'm salivating, waiting for these Fletcher class. They're going to come around. They're going to do a lot. Now, one of the questions to ask is, what will we be doing for active sensors, missile fire control? Because you don't, for your missile ships, kind of the optimum that people have kind of arrived at is to put your missile fire control obviously has to be on the missile ships. That's how they guide the missiles. However, active sensors only needs to be on one ship. You only have to have one active sensor detecting any ship, and it'll feed that that solution to the missile fire control. It'll feed those targets to the missile fire control of any allied ship. So you don't need to have active sensors on every ship. But I think we're going to do that. The trade-off could be that if we put our active sensors on our Aegis frigates, that's another idea. Okay, that's something to really consider, and they're only 3 hull size. The problem is our missile frigates might not be frigates by the time they get there. I'm pretty sure that I'm actually going to call them pure destroyers, because they are going to have probably 2 double-turreted Gauss cannons, and those are pretty beefy, in size. Okay, so so far we've done active, we've done fire control, we've done missile. Have we done our missile engine yet? No. We actually have to do this, so let me actually do it. Let me check research, just to make sure I'm not going crazy, because I did it already and then I deleted it, but in my head it's been done. I can't, okay, no missile here. We should only have sensor and fire control. We do have those too. Good. And that missile fire control is so cheap. It's just so cheap. Obviously, the smaller they are, not obviously, but the way this game works, the smaller they are, which means the less powerful they are, the easier they are to research. I'm not really sure that there probably should be some kind of compromise for compacting them, but they just say strength is basically everything when it comes to research. So we're going to cancel our thermal sensor sensitivity for the moment. We'll be getting back to that in a moment, very quickly in fact. So we'll create our missile fire control. We'll queue the next one. These will probably be done immediately, just right back to back. So we actually want to queue one more for Mahmoud, which is his thermal sensor sensitivity. And then once that's all mops up, we'll add whatever it was supposed to be queued again. So it's good to see that the missile engine isn't done yet. Let's get to it. Inertial confinement, is that? Yeah, of course. We want the maximum engine power, the 400 power mod, as it's called. And this one is supposed to be 2, just a flat 2, which is kind of a nice, easy number for me to find, remember, whatever. Okay, there's our 2. So 12.8, I will call this inertial fusion missile drive. And this is 2066 June as well. All our stuff will be. We'll create this one. Okay. Next up we have, how am I doing on time? 13 minutes. Okay, well we've created our missile setup. I guess I'm going to stop here, call this video to a close, and I'll have to get, we have a few other things to do. We'll Well, missile launchers can be really easy. Just missile size 6, maximum reload rate, and minimum size. So we'll just create that one as well. Now I have all my missile stuff done. I have missile launcher, missile engine. And once we have our missile engine, we can design the missile itself. So we need the missile engine first. We already know the missile launcher. We're just doing the very standard size 6 anti-ship missile. So ASM. And we did our sensors. So yeah, next thing we need are our Gauss turrets and our beam fire control. But as I said, I think I'm going to do that in the next episode because we're already pushing it for time. So yeah, oh, we need magazines too. So I'll get to magazines because I'll need to look at that off camera as well. But I just want to get this video out because it's been so long and I think we're at 55 minutes now. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm really sorry for the long delay. I don't plan for that, but yeah, I think if I just sat and recorded this as I played constantly, we'd probably be on episode 30, 50 maybe. But it'd be a lot of boring time. So hopefully the constant cuts make this a little bit more entertaining. So our Fletcher class we have the makings of it. 200 million kilometers for those missiles. That's, I mean, just give you an idea. We're firing them from Earth. Well, I probably have to zoom out a little bit. 200 million kilometers means that we can basically go to Mars and back. Well, if we look at just the circles. But really, from Earth, we can hit Mars for, you know, I would say about a quarter of the time. No, certainly less than that. I don't know. We could probably hit Mars from Earth some of the time with these missiles, but that's still pretty crazy considering that they're flying at 43 kilometers per second. So, okay, so that's it. I'll catch you back for the next video. Sorry for the delay again. I won't apologize. I'll just work to do better on the next one. And appreciate... What am I trying to say? Oh my gosh, I'm losing my thoughts. Thanks for watching. And I'll catch you back for the next one. In the next one, we will get the Fletcher up and running guaranteed. So even though it's not really time critical, we have no threats to respond to, we'll get those Fletchers designed, up and running, and then we'll build a few of them. Maybe I'll have to up the rate for MPR generation just so that we can start getting something to fight. That'd be really interesting. So until then, until the next one, take care.